Let us pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the many blessings, Lord. We thank you for giving us an opportunity as a council to come in and make rules and laws for the city of Livingston, Lord. We pray that we do this all in accordance to thy word. Lord, we pray for our country and the leader of our country that you will, that they will always have the wisdom and guidance to lead us in the right direction. We pray for the sick and especially the ones that's close to us, if you will restore them back to the midst of health, Lord, if it be thy will. Lord, we pray for our soldiers, men and women that are serving our country over on the foreign soil, that you will put thy hand around them and bring them back home safe and sound, if it be thy will. Forgive us of our sins, in Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Chief Etheridge, you read the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Roll call. Everyone's here. Rex Dale is on family vacation. So everyone was here with Rex. So Mr. Dale, can show that. Need a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Coleman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Additions or deletions to the agenda. I have a couple to add. Item number 7 is hire 2 police officers that Chief Etheridge is down. So I'd like to add that as item number 7. Item number 8 is striping of First Street as requested by Livingston Regional Hospital. Is there any other deletions or additions to the agenda? If not, I need a motion to accept these, item number 7 and item number 8, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Alderman Speck,
Second.
second by Alderman Langford. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. So we will add item number 7 will be Chief Etheridge, 2 policemen, police officers, I should say. And add item number 8 is the striping of First Street as recommended by Tim Gill, Livingston Regional Hospital. That'd be item number 8. Okay, I don't have any old business. Under new business, item number 1 is downtown revitalization. Mr. Ray Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. I handed out to you earlier a report from your Downtown Revitalization Committee. We're going to make a habit of reporting to you not only verbally but in writing as well. It was a suggestion from some of the media who thought it was a good idea. So we're going to continue that practice. First thing we'll talk about is the TDOT Multimodal Access Grant that has been underway for a while. Our consultants and their consultants have completed what's called the NEPA documentation, and that included a historical architectural survey of all the properties adjacent to the project. So down around the courthouse square and down Broad and Main. I've got a copy of that report here. It's 136 pages long, very comprehensive, that Mayor will leave with you. I'll be happy to, it's a large file, but I'll be happy to send that file to anyone that would want to have it. It looked at all the buildings to see if they would be eligible registration as on the National Register of Historic Places. The courthouse already is on the National Register. And this study determined also that Miss Julie Bishop's house would be eligible. It doesn't make it eligible just because this report says so, but if she wanted to pursue that registration, this report would give her the ability to do that. I spoke well of several other buildings, but also spoke as to why this consultant did not think that they would necessarily be eligible. One of the things that we've discovered in all this is that because courthouse is listed as on the National Register, any disturbance that we have to the courthouse grounds takes an even higher level of architectural survey intensity. So the only thing that we're doing and that we propose to do in this project has been replacing that post curb that's deteriorated so badly in places around the square. If we leave that off of this project, we don't have to take the time or the extra expense that would be 100% Livingston cost to do that extra architectural study. And we're not 100% ready to say that's what the direction we're going to head, but it's likely that we will exclude repair of that curb just to avoid that extra time and extra expense. So that brings me to the second item, and that is the PDOT Transportation Alternatives Program grant that you have a resolution before you tonight to give us permission to apply for. So if we're successful in that grant, we would use that grant to replace the curbing as well as the sidewalks, as well as, in essence, redo the entire grounds around the courthouse. Recall that in 2007, I think, Bud and Julia Bishop retained the Page Duke firm in Nashville, very renowned landscape architectural firm. Ben Page has been noted in Southern Living magazine dozens of times, but to do not only a conceptual plan, but construction documents for improvements to the square. We're essentially using those as a basis for the grant application. I've included in your package a copy of that illustrative plan. I'm sure you've seen it around several times before. Technically, this grant is an 80-20 match, but there are some items that are not grant eligible. So it ends up being closer to a 75-25 grant when all the numbers are settled. We have spent a good portion of this week with the help of our friends, Kim and Horn, who's doing a little bit of gratis work for us, pulling some budget numbers together. And we believe now that this project will be somewhere in the $550,000 range, and that the match and non-reimbursable expenses will total about $172,000. And you have a resolution that we'll consider next, asking for approval to proceed with that. The Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development, CDB, Commercial Facade Improvements Grant that we have applied for in the amount of $100,000, which would again do significant facade improvements around the courthouse square primarily, but also down South Church as well. I have asked for a status of the application review from that agency, but have not yet received such. So as soon as I hear something on that, I will share with you as well. Our committee met last Friday, and one of the things that we're working on is in anticipation of the shared sales tax revenue that we will receive from the state. Ms. Phyllis, maybe by the end of this month, we are looking at projects that we think would be worthy. We're anticipating quite a bit more money this year than we had last year. Remember that we had been hitting at about $125,000, and because of several things, we were in the $165,000 range last year. We think that we will probably be well above our $225 range this coming year. remember that the first thing that comes off the top of that is a principal and interest loan repayment. So we pay that first, and then whatever we've got left over, we go from there. So we are going to prepare a budget that we're going to bring back to this body next month for your review and approval, and then we'll proceed on from there. As we've had about a year or so in Central Park usage, we're finding from various sources that there's probably some of the Central Park facility for rental properties that we need to modify some. And so the committee at its next meeting will be looking at some of those, and we'll bring back to your October meeting some suggested changes in the Central Park policies.
I guess everybody looks at me and laughs because I'm the one that asks so many questions.
No,
Ray, I do have a couple of questions. I think you explained that it's too time consuming at this point in the item one, the multimodal access grant, to include that boundary curb in this grant, is that correct?
The time-consuming part would be, and the expense would be going through the additional level of architectural review and study necessary because we're touching some portion of the national register property.
Okay. So that leads me to another question. Therefore, on the grounds of the courthouse, the inner circle, everything that happens within that space must go through an architectural review and approval process, is that correct?
It has to go through, in essence, the same steps that this went through, plus the next level of review as well.
Okay.
And we're hoping, frankly, that what was done for this study will suffice for that first level.
Okay. So therefore, do you have information to know whether or not the fountain that was installed on the courthouse grounds went through that process?
I do not know.
Does anybody here?
It is my understanding that the fountain process was a leadership over to class, and it didn't go through city council or the economic realization, is my understanding.
Okay. Okay, so not that I'm against the fountain at all, but I'm just curious if other civic organizations wish to do things on the courthouse grounds, now that it's pretty clear it's on the historic register. Do we have a process in place that a group per se might have to go through to alter the courthouse square?
So we've had a couple items that have come up, and we've worked through it. They have went through the DRC first, and then the DRC makes a recommendation as an advisory board of the city council on the direction that they like to go. The last time that we had something, I think their minds was changed, is that right, Ray? And they didn't follow through with it. The last time somebody brought something to the DRC for the courthouse square, they changed their mind, I think, during the process, and maybe TDOT might have had some
Yes,
issues
that's
with
correct.
it.
Do you foresee that that could come up when this review starts?
For this grant application? Absolutely. Yeah. So that's one reason that this resolution, as you'll see, the dollars are slightly, on the hand, you have a red line version of the resolution that was in your package originally. You'll see that the dollars are a bit higher. One of the reasons that the dollars are a bit higher is because we had to add this extra layer of architectural review.
Do you foresee any chance that that fountain would ever have to be relocated because of this grant?
I couldn't say. We'll have to see what the process says.
Okay, and then this is somewhat related to the downtown revitalization, but it's not specific to one of your items on here. But my question has to do with the exterior condition of our courthouse. I'm concerned about the peeling paint and the appearance of it not being kept up or maintained, and I'm just curious if your group has any information or insight, or is addressing that? I know it's not a city-owned project or a city-owned building per se, but I'm just curious if there's anything we could do to try to help. It's an amazing building, and I think it adds to the grandeur of our square, and I hate to see it basically fall to ruins.
I may be mistaken in what I'm getting ready to tell you. Curtis and Ken help me, but I believe that Mark Dudney with the Upcoming Development District told us either at last meeting or the meeting before that there might be a small pocket of grant money available for restoration of public buildings like that. That's my recollection. That doesn't necessarily mean it's so, but I will follow up on that and see. I would also say that a worse example of what you just talked about is across the street at the U.S. Post Office. One of the best buildings that we have in town, and the maintenance is very substantial.
I stand corrected. I meant to say the U.S. Post Office. I apologize, not the courthouse, but the post office. Sorry.
So, Representative Wendell recently sent a letter to the General Services Administration head, asking them to look into the condition of the building and the maintenance of the building. I think there has been some concern in the past by some, where somewhere up in the hierarchy of the Postal Service, that any improvements would trigger ADA compliance. We don't think that's a very sound argument. We're talking about just maintenance. We're talking about painting and cleaning and polishing some brass once in a while and that sort of thing, just to make that important building look much better than it does.
Thank you.
Ray, one more thing in the courthouse, and it's a minor thing, and I brought it up 3 or 6 months ago, and it's never followed up. Said it was Union Bank is the one that sponsored it, and they might have originally, but surely we could find money to fix it. And I noticed it was in one of the new pictures that had been posted recently in the media of the square, is the clock is not working and hasn't worked in probably 2 years. Is there any way that kind of funds to fix that clock, or?
So when we bring you a budget back next meeting, that will be one of the items that will be
Okay.
on the budget.
Okay.
The grants that you're asking for and everything, the city's gonna have to pay $86,000, is that correct?
Yes, but let's talk about that as a resolution, which I think is next on your agenda.
So Ray, you don't need a motion right now until we get to the resolution. Is that correct, or you need?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's carry on. To item number 2, resolution 2019-9-1 PDOT cap grant. Right?
Yes, sir. So this is the Tennessee Department of Transportation Alternatives Program grant. Since we've had this set of plans that Bud and Julia had prepared, we continue to look for a grant source that these improvements would be eligible, and those are few and far between. We tried an ARC grant 9 months ago that didn't quite make it. And I've explored a couple of other routes through TDEC, Local Parks and Recreation grant would probably work. That's a 50-50 match. There's some USDA grants that are very small that might fit as well. But without a doubt, this Transportation Alternatives Program grant from PDOT is the best source of funds that we could ever get to make improvements to the grounds of the courthouse square in accordance with those plans. It is, as I said before, it's an 80-20 match technically, but by the time you pay some non-reimbursable things like the entry fees and a few other things, it becomes more like a 75-25. So what you're being asked in this revised version of the grant, and I did it as a red line so you can see specifically the difference between the one that you had in your original package and the changes. We're asking that this board authorize the mayor and the Downtown Revitalization Committee to apply for the 2020 Transportation Alternatives Program grant in an approximate amount of $475,000. That would be the grant amount. That would be the amount that the state would be paying. And that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to commit to a grant match and non-reimbursable expenses in the approximate amount of $86,000, subject to Overton County contributing in that equal amount. So the total college shortfall, if you will, the match plus the expenses, is $172,000. And since it's on county property and it's a county courthouse, we think that it would be appropriate for the county to go 50-50 with the city on those measures.
But you're asking the city to come up with $86,000.
Yes, sir. So I would ask if you consider this resolution that is, as is marked up on the red copy that you did receive earlier this evening.
Right, just to clarify, this is a resolution to authorize the mayor and your committee to apply for the grant,
Yes,
correct?
and to commit to the match.
Thank you.
And in doing so, we would be recouping somewhere in the neighborhood of $561,000 if my math is right. The 475 plus the county's 86, for our investment of 86.
Correct.
Okay, we got a resolution 2019-9-1. You've heard Mr. Evans speaking on this TDOT TAP grant. Is there any, council, do you have any questions for Mr. Evans?
One more question. At what point will the selections be made for the, I know it's 2020. I'm just curious how that will tie into our 2020 budget planning.
Great question. So the application is due October the 3rd. TAP announcements are usually made in the spring.
Okay.
So, you know, your budget year will almost be finished before we actually get a notice of proceedings.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, I entertain a motion for this resolution.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Coleman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Ken Dotson. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. Where you gonna get the $86,000?
So, I think what Mr. Evans said, we couple
It says vote and commit.
yeah.
So
So,
where we gonna get it?
yeah, so a couple avenues we got, use some of the downtown revitalization funds, given the fact that, if what we are seeing, comes in a little bit more, and everything that I've seen has showed that we are bringing in more sales tax revenue, in the particular area that comes back as a rebate to us, there will be extra funds available. So, in item number, and the other avenue would simply be, that when you put it in the budget for the 2021 fiscal year of the city of Livingston. So that's the options that you have. Any more questions?
A question, right, these are revitalization funds that we've got, and then we're voting, you know, and the 86 can come out of that, right? That's our first seat.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said that was one of the alternatives.
Alternatives. Is there, this question come up some time ago, and I asked and didn't. Is there any chance that that money could not be contributed or could be stopped going into revitalization?
I mean,
Through the state?
Through the state, Curtis, you know the specifics, but actually that program for these 5-6 cities has been extended another 10 years.
So it is extended 10 years?
That's correct.
So it will, okay.
Ray, does the committee have any money to help us with this $86,000?
The committee has no money. All the money that's collected there is your money. We just advise you on how we think it should be spent.
Yeah, and Dave, that's what we're talking about. If that is one of the avenues that we can use for revenue, is the grant that we're we're getting, from the state of Tennessee, this rebate check that we get annually. And as Ray has said, the state of Tennessee has extended that an additional 10 years. We're very fortunate to have that. As many of you know, that Livingston is one of the 6 cities that received this rebate check. So, and it has been extended, and it is guaranteed money, according to the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee. So,
So the way I see it, this is the opportunity for this town to basically apply for a grant to get roughly $500,000 to fund projects around our town
Yeah.
for $86,000.
yeah,
And it's an opportunity,
Yeah.
and it's something that would be in our next fiscal year budget that would have to be
Absolutely.
figured out.
absolutely. That'd be very good. So, there's a motion, and second, is there any more discussion? If not, roll call, vote, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Michael.
Yes, but I don't have a clue where we're gonna get the money, and a lot of times these good deals is not good deals if you don't have the down payment. But I mean, I'll go on, I don't understand.
Respect.
Yes, because my business is part of the sales tax that goes into this.
Vice Mayor Dotson.
Yes.
Alderman Cohen.
Yes.
Alderman Eastman.
Yes.
Motion
Motion
passed.
passed. Item number 3 is Center Point Energy, Mr. Alan Lingerfeld. Alan?
Thank you, Mayor, Alderman.
Yes, sir. If you don't care, could you push your button, please, and just state your name and your company, please?
Didn't know I do that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Alan Lingerfeld with Central Energy Services. We supply the natural gas to the city gate. Want to give you a brief update on things that we discussed last time I was here, as well as short-term outlook this winter. As you know, last winter we had kind of a scare with the East Tennessee natural gas pipeline rupture. Enbridge has taken a lot of steps over this summer to make sure it's safe to get back into operation. It is not to 100% back into operation yet, so we're still at 80%. We don't have the weather that causes it to have to operate above that 80% right now. So they did a hydraulic test on it back in July. They told us that we're supposed to get the results back sometime in September, so I'm anxious to hear what their findings are. Hopefully it's to go back to 100% operations for this winter. I think that's what we all want. You know, it's, as soon as that comes out, hopefully they'll make a pretty good announcement. I'm sure everybody knows as far as all the customers. Another thing, I guess, to just update on last winter, and all of you know that weather really drives the natural gas prices. And I probably every time I come, I talk about weather. Right now, the supply on the market, you've heard of fracking and all that, and all the gas that's available. There's a lot of supply on the market. Supply is not an issue. It's going to boil down to there's enough supply. If the demand gets higher than it has been historically, that's when it's going to push the price up. Just most recent, we saw Hurricane Dorian go through the East Coast. They shut down Elba Island, and that's the LNG terminal that goes out of Savannah, Georgia. I think all the people came back as of Friday, so it should be back in operation today. That glut of supply in the market caused all kinds of restrictions to hit all the pipelines on the East Coast because the gas didn't have a place to go. So we were under an OFO this weekend, and you know, it didn't affect us directly here, but it affects the whole network of pipelines. So weather, doesn't matter when it is. Hurricanes used to affect us much more than it does today. The northern supply of gas has really helped that issue out. Looking forward, it's 91 degrees today. It don't look like it's going to let up for a while, at least maybe through October. But they are calling for November to get back to a normal situation. If you recall, November was pretty cool compared to the previous 5. When that starts as a cold November, it normally hikes the price of gas up for December, January, February. And that's what it did last year. Gas price, raw cost of gas coming out of the Gulf jumped up to the 470s. Luckily, you had some hedges in place and fixed price gas in place that you didn't have to buy all that 470. And we've done that year in, year out to try to flatten out your rate or mitigate your rate where you don't buy those high peaks. Just looking at pure numbers, you purchase in November through March, you purchase 79% of your annual usage. So those 5 months are the most important to mitigate the price. And in the summertime, I realize you've got customers burning gas in summertime, but it's normally a little cheaper. The winter times when it's higher price. So there's fixed price positions in place for this winter going forward. The outlook beyond the weather in November, I quote Farmer's Almanac, and we get a forecast from Frontier Weather also that it's a little early to get a winter forecast right now, being September. As we get closer to the 1st of November, the models will start showing better weather forecast for December, November and December. But just to kind of give you an outlook on the almanac, it's calling for winter to be warmer than normal. And last year, the winter was warmer than normal, but we still had some cold periods through the winter, so keep that in mind. The coldest periods for our area is calling for and when I say our area, the north part of Tennessee, is early December, late January, early to mid-February, with rainfall below normal. So I don't know how that interprets into snowfall, but they are calling for the best chances of snow in mid to late November and early January. And you can take that with a grain of salt, because that's a weather forecast, okay? And it's an outlook. I mean, they're usually fairly close. But I guess the main thing that I want to leave you with is if you buy 79% of your usage over the 5 months of winter, you put things in place to mitigate the high price spiking in the 470s again, like it was last winter. So if you have to buy any of that, it'd be very little. Just put it that way. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. I want to be brief and kind of give you an outlook on mainly the pipeline. Hopefully, and Mayor, if I see that come through, I'll forward something to you so you can update the Aldermen.
Right. So the main question is, I mean, there's not a scarce of natural gas.
No, there's a good supply of natural gas.
And so all of our manufacturers or hospitals or schools are going to be in good shape. And when the pipeline broke last year, there was a little scare.
And that was a deliverability issue for the pipeline. But as far as supply on the market, the actual molecule of gas, and with that glut of supply, we should see a pretty flat, stable market for the next several months. I'd like to predict at least the next 15 years, but you know, you just don't know what's going to happen after next year. So,
Alan, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Merkel? If not, thank you for your time and safe travels back. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate you.
Item number 4 is a letter from the Overton County Election Commission that you got in your packet. These are the things, I know it's a little early, but this was sent to us by the Election Commission to determine the 2020 city election that will be held June 3rd, 2020, up over to the Overton County Election Commission. It's an motion. Motion made by Alderman Dishman, a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Coleman. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion passed. So item number 5 is the paving bids. We have got 3 bids in for the area. That one's on, okay, got it right. I think I got it right here. We got some 3 bids for pavement here. This would be the subdivision that we have done work on that street department has got prepared. So it cost us right at about $60,000. If you remember, the city council authorized to take a loan out of $500,000 to pay the car subdivision. So our work is complete. So simultaneously, we took bids to get that paid. And in your packet, you'll see that the low bid was Rogers Group at $689,000. So they came in with a problem. I sit down with came in with a problem because it was just overbid more money than what we had. So I sit down with the low bidder, which was Rogers Group, and we talked about some items that we have, and according to them advising me that we would put a binder down in the car subdivision, which will cut the cost about I think it was $138,000. So that was another problem. That wasn't good enough to get to our 440 mark. So we took another look at it, and the Bibbert Street having to do down by the middle school nursing home, that street was washboard because of the water leak. So you can take that off the list as far as being paid for out of the general fund and out of the $500,000, or excuse me, the 440 that was relieved. And so we tried to put in a few other streets that needed it, and we understand that there's a great need for pavement all across the city. Obviously, we can do what we can afford. So Oak Terrace area got postponed at this time. That was a $89,000 price, so that's postponed at this time. On Woodland Street, there were some water problems that happened there, some water out of our water funds that'll be took out. That's $19,000 for a new total of $425,223 that will get us under budget and get us under the $440,000 now. Costly because sometimes pavers go over just a little bit. But I think the money in the bank is sufficient to accept the low bid, okay? So at this time, I'm asking to accept the low bid from Rogers Group, not to exceed $440,000.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson,
Second.
second by Alderman Coleman. Is there any discussion?
What's the difference between, what are you talking about binder? What's the difference between binder and pavement?
Yeah, there's not gonna be a finished coat, David. The binder is certainly 100% better than what is down there now, okay?
I understand.
And according to what the experienced pavers say, Daniel Logan from Rogers Group, and I spoke to an independent person, Scott McDonald, that certainly would be better than what we have got. And it won't be the binder that makes noises when you drive on it. You can't hardly tell the difference between the Class C mix and the binder that will be put down. So the binder will last, according to Mr. Logan from Rogers Group, at least 10 years. Now, if we come up with a way to have more funds, put a finished coat on it, then we will do so. But this is what our budget allows us to do.
So the 440 will just do that subdivision.
The 440 will do the subdivision, yes, sir. Yeah, and David, we're gonna do Bibby Street as well, but that'll be out of Water and Woodland Street, at least, how many feet was that, Wayne, do you remember?
Woodland Street?
Yeah. 900 foot coming from East Main going basically to the top of the hill for about right. Dwayne says we've got some big water issues there. So,
So there won't be any other streets besides the Carr Avenue project, the Woodland and Bigger, right?
no, I mean, I'm sorry, the streets that will be done, will be written to you, will be Bibbery Street, we paid out of Water, Buena Vista, the Long Street, Carr Avenue, Evans Street, Spring Street, Hell Avenue, Jack Street, Kennedy Street, Long Street, Lowell Stevens Avenue, McHenry to Miller Street, Short Street, Spring Street to West Main Street, West 7th Street to College Street, Woodland Street, and that's what we've done. So what you've got is, you've got Carr subdivision, and you've got a few streets down to Central Park that will be back.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to commend Mr. Peak back there and his department, with the street department. I was over today, actually, driving around in that neighborhood, the Carr Avenue neighborhood, and y'all have done a really good job of preparing those streets with the drainage and the widening that you've had to do. In fact, there was a couple of ladies walking on Lowell Stevens Avenue, and I rolled in my window and they were bragging on the city for the hard work that y'all done there. And they're anxiously awaiting the pavement because they say that the dust is killing them.
Yeah.
But they realize that this is just part of the progress. I'm just happy that the city's able at this point to commit to paving all the streets over there. And Mr. Mayor, I would also like to ask, is there any timeline that we receive in terms of when that will commence?
So given the fact that the city council will approve this tonight, according to Rogers Group, which is the lowest bid, they could start paving as early as September the 16th. So to answer your question, it was a 60-day contract that we released. So November the 9th, all pavement should be complete by November the 9th.
Okay, and just to clarify one further addition to what Alderman Langford said about the binder, my understanding is that this mix will be a 2-inch mix without the 1-inch topping layer. So all the streets will get a 2-inch mix.
That's great. So it looks like we fit under budget. Looks like that the contract is ready to be signed with Rogers Group. Just need a motion to.
Make a motion and
Got a motion and second, okay. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Speck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Cohen,
Yes.
Alderman Bishop,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 6, we will sign the contract tomorrow and ensure Rogers Group that they can go ahead and get started at their convenience. I think there is some work that Mr. Peak is going to do there at the, right there at the entrance of, on Bibbery Street in front of the nursing home / middle school. So we've got a road at washboard there due to a water leak. So that street may be shut down the next couple of days. Wayne, when do you plan on?
Maybe Thursday, I can start on.
Okay, so there will be some heavy construction done there because you're going to have to take that down pretty large.
Yeah, we'll have to take all that thing.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more question. On the Buena Vista Street, I understand that we're under contract now to do the pump station repairs there, correct? Okay, so when that work commences and is carried out, I guess you're gonna make certain that there's no disturbances to the new asphalt that we put on that street, because that pump station's right along the street.
We talked,
Have y'all talked about
yeah,
that?
we talked about that this morning at
Okay.
the supervisors meeting, so, the water department, gas department, any sewer department, anybody that has any work that needs to be done on these roads has either already got it done or will have it done very, very soon. Also, good point that you brought up, we had leak detection crew that's come in, so they've been on all these streets here to make sure that there's no water leaks. Because it's crazy to pave the street and then tear it up 2 weeks down the road, so that may still happen, because you've got water and utilities in the middle of the road.
What is the schedule for that, pump station repair work on Unit Business, do you know? When is that supposed to start?
I'm not for sure, but I'll get with Greg Davenport, I know he'll be here in October. Okay, yeah. Okay. Item number 6, City Industrial Park Resolution, Mr. Ray Evans.
So I'm before you this time as the Oakland County Economic Development Consultant. We're blessed to bring to you an opportunity to sell basically the last remaining tract in the city industrial park. It's an industrial prospect that we probably met 6-9 months ago and had some great initial conversations with. They're fortunate enough to have landed some significant contracts and ready to move forward. And this is a automotive parts manufacturer, which is one of the target industries that we think is excellent for the city of Livingston. The tract that we're talking about, I think I included in your package an illustrative plan that TVA had done for us. It should be in your handout. Excuse me.
Okay.
That actually shows how a 100,000 square foot building can sit on that property. You also have a survey that was just completed by David Sales that describes, so the property that you own and that you see in this illustrative plan is right at 15 acres. You then also have a survey that David Sales has just completed for 10.03 acres. So this industrial prospect has executed a letter of intent with the city to purchase the property, and they're ready to move forward. And I will tell you that the resolution was drafted a few days ago, not knowing exactly how many acres we were going to sell those folks. So we very hastily changed the resolution about an hour and a half ago. And there's a couple of typos on it. So I'm going to read the resolution and call out the typos as I read them, so you, when you make your motion, you can make a motion on the correct order. So this is resolution number 2019-9-02, a resolution authorizing the sale of a 10.3 acre tract of public property for industrial development. Whereas pursuant to the charter of the town of Livingston, as well as the Florida Tennessee Code annotated 6-2-201, the mayor and board of aldermen has the authority to purchase, receive, and hold real property and mixed property in said town, and sell, lease, and dispose of said for the benefit of said town. And whereas the town of Livingston owns a vacant 15-acre tract on Tennessee Drive within the city industrial park, and whereas an automotive parts manufacturing company has executed a letter of intent to purchase a 10.03 acres of said property, and whereas the company would over a 5-year period construct a 100,000 square foot manufacturing facility, create over 100 jobs with average wages higher than the citywide average, and whereas the mayor of the town of Livingston has negotiated a sales price of $10,030 for the 10.03 acres. And whereas the Board of Mayor and Aldermen have determined that the sale of said property for said amount promotes the public interest and will provide general economic improvements for the citizens of the town of Livingston due to the significant investment by the manufacturing company to further development of said property, construction of a 100,000 square foot manufacturing facility that will likely result in the creation of several jobs with higher than average wages. Now therefore, in consideration of the above, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the town of Livingston does hereby resolve that the mayor is authorized to enter into a sales contract with the automotive parts manufacturer at a sales price of $10,030, spelled out 30, not numerical. And again, $10,030 for 10.03 acres of tract located on Tennessee Drive, not road, within the city industrial park. Resolved this 9th day of September 2019.
Great, thank you. This is a project that we've been working on. Ray says 9 months, but I think it goes back a little bit further than that. And I think this project will help the quality and enhance the quality of life in Livingston over the county. We've had the city industrial park out there for many, many years, and that's exactly what this property is designed for. We will still have enough room, if you're familiar with the property out at the industrial park. The city of Livingston still takes the brush out. It is a certified burn site, but with the 15 acres we got, we're only wanting to sell 10. That will still give, according to Mr. Peak and David Sales, which did the survey on this will still give us room to continue to pick up brush in the city and to be able to take it there, haul it, and burn it right there on the certified site. The potential client is very familiar with this. They have no problems with it, nor does any of the neighbors out there in the industrial park. In fact, they love it. The only negative, if there is a negative to this, is that we're out of land, folks. And that's something that we need to take a look at in the future, is once this acreage is gone, then we have no more industrial sites in the city limits of Livingston. So for future growth, we will have to expand and buy some property. Just a FYI. Is there any questions for Mr. Ray Evans?
This 10-acre tract, is it going back to the gravel road? Will it connect here, or will it be part of it? Or is it going down old sewer? It won't connect to the gravel road, Wayne?
Not connected there.
Okay, it don't go back yet, so there'll still be some property there.
Mr. Evans, I commend you for the work you've done on this, and this is an exciting project. I would note that it's potentially maybe just pay for this multi-month grant that you're gonna apply for, right? $10,030, and then with the new property tax and added sales tax from this business, we may just pay for that. Is that correct?
That's an excellent way to look at it, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions for Mr. Evans? So this is a resolution to sell this property. It'd be 10 acres in the existing city industrial park.
Make a motion, we make the sale.
Motion made by Alderman Langford,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Dishman. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Phillips.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Coleman,
Yes.
Alderman Dishman,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Speck,
Yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Item number 7 is Chief Greg Etheridge, Livingston Police Department. Chief?
Thank y'all. I'm here tonight, and as you may or may not know, we had 2 of our officers that have left for other agencies, and I'm here tonight to ask to replace those 2 officers with Officer Joanna Klaus and Officer Ian Phillips. They come to us from another jurisdiction, but I've had the pleasure of serving with them in the past, and they're highly qualified, certified officers. We'd be lucky to have them.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Already had all their trainings and certifications and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to hire 2 officers.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Greg, just for the record, can you state your names again, please?
Joanna Klaus, Jeannie Phillips.
Greg, I got a quick question, and if was asked me, is he going to enforce speech, bilingual language, if you run into any that you, are you having this, is either one of these, or?
You're right.
You're right, okay. Well, somebody had brought that up because of seeing it, I guess reading an article, I think is what she said. And she just was curious, and I said, I don't know.
Not,
Not right now. But you have somebody you can contact maybe in the county that can help you with that if you run into that.
in the good old days when I was at the sheriff's office, I called Margaritas, my Spanish teacher.
Yeah. Well, that just come up, and I was just curious if you did have anything.
Not at this time, but I'm really open for that.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor, to hire, Officer Klaus, Officer Phillips, as recommended by Chief Greg Etheridge. Any more discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Ah.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Congratulations, ladies. Welcome aboard to the Livingston Police Department.
Thank you.
Item number 8. Greg Evans is giving me so much paperwork, he's got me covered up here. So the discussion is, Mr. Tim McGill has requested us to stripe the road on First Street, given the fact that, as you're aware of, Ball State Community College is now in the old business office building that is located on First Street at the corner there of First and Oak. The students are having some problems pulling in there, and I think there possibly could have been not an accident, but close to having an accident there. So the hospital is just requesting First Street to be striped, that will be clearly marked with a turning lane, and where the students can get in there to their classrooms. That is a request. They also requested us to pay for it. So,
Wayne, do we have the ability to do the striping ourselves?
so it is, if the city council will allow, we're gonna have some extra money on this paving deal. We're up to $440, but we're thinking it's gonna be realistic, $425,000. And if we can come under budget to allow negotiations with Rogers or whomever, and we can send it out to bid to stripe First Street.
Is it wide enough to have a turn lane stripe one?
Yes, First Street,
Okay.
yeah, it's just faded,
Okay.
just faded. So, need a motion to do that. Yeah, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Kelly Coleman. Is there a second?
So,
Second by Alderman David Langford. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye. All opposed, like sign, motion passed. An announcement to make on Saturday, the 14th, the airport will have a fly-in from 9 to 3 at the Livingston Airport. I think out of all the days, I think rain's on the way for Saturday. And we've canceled this already one time for rain.
We're gonna go for it this time.
Okay. Also, that There will be a work session with the barge designs on flood mitigation on Thursday, September the 19th at 5 o'clock. Work session with barge designs on flood mitigation on Thursday, September 19th at 5 o'clock. Yes, Mr. Evans.
So one thing I failed to mention with the Transportation Alternatives Program grant, which sort of conflicts with what you just said, is that we have a project, public hearing, public meeting, if you will, on that project on, I think we advertised Thursday, the 17th at 5 o'clock, at the chamber.
I think Tuesday 17th, I think Thursday's 19th.
Excuse me. Which date was it, fellas?
But we got Thursday, September the 19th. Let me check my calendar.
19th is a Thursday.
Yeah. I think yours is Tuesday the 17th, Ray,
Oh, is
because
it?
I've got some mandatory training.
So Tuesday, the 17th, for the public meeting on the Transportation Alternatives.
Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to address the council? If not, I need a motion. Any councilman?
I just have another quick question.
Yes, sir.
When we talked about the striping over near the hospital, it caused me to think about, I know maybe a year ago or less than a year ago, TDOT offered at their expense to resurface our town square. And I'm just curious, Mayor, if you've heard any updates from them on if that possibly might occur before winter?
I have not heard anything, Ray, of you from TDOT.
We asked them to delay that because we were successful in this multimodal access grant, and we were going to booger up what they would have freshly paid if they didn't delay it. And so they agreed to wait until after we had finished the construction on the multimodal access grant to do the work around the square.
Look, I will commit to it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if there's no other business, any city council need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Alderman Speck. Is there a second? Second by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know, say aye. All opposed, like sign, we're adjourned.